Well, I told you about the interview tonight. We are going to have a look at Kenya-India trade relations as well as bilaterals. And we are talking to the High Commissioner of India to Kenya. This is His Excellence Adarsh Swaika. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. When you look at relations between the two countries, Kenya and India, they date back to almost 150 years. How would you describe them now?
First of all, let me thank you, Mr. O'Brien, for having me on your show. And for the viewers, let me greet them in Kiswahili, Habari za jioni. So I hope it's right. But coming back to the question, actually, our historical relations not only date back to 150 years, but to thousands of years, because the Indian people were trading with eastern part of Africa for over centuries. And the first organized movement did start around the railway line when the railway line was being built in 1895. But since then, there has been a stream of Indian visitors to Kenya. They have been assimilated here. They have adopted the culture. They have contributed in various ways to Kenya's development, socio-economic development. And therefore, today, if you ask me, I think it's an excellent bilateral relationship where there are no outstanding issues. There is a lot of goodwill between both the countries, not only at the government-to-government level, but at the institutional and people-to-people level. So I feel that today, I think we are at a very, very good spot in our relationship. And we are looking forward to an exciting relationship, a relationship that has strategic elements, a relationship that is people-centric. Because ultimately, what do people want from a relationship? Why India and why Indians? It should be something which is of benefit to Kenyans as a large. So that is what I think is the goal for both the countries, and therefore we are working towards it.
How important is Kenya to India in Africa?
Very important. I think we see Kenya as a very, very important partner in this region, in Africa. You've seen that Kenya is playing a very leading role in African Union integration in various ways, whether it is trade or investments or environment. Nairobi is the environmental capital not only of Africa but also of the world. So I think we have, given a historical relationship, given the way Kenya is growing infrastructurally in development, we feel that Kenya is a very important partner for India, a strategic partner, a gateway for East Africa and the landlocked Central Africa. So in our scheme of things, we greatly value our relationship with Kenya.
Let's talk about trade relations between the two nations. And when you look at the two-way traffic, you're looking at about 4.3 billion US dollars, two-way. And it is highly leaning towards India. And you're looking at about 4 billion US dollars exports from India to Kenya, while you're looking at 290 million US dollars exports to India. What do we need to do to even the ground?
I won't say that we have to do something to even the ground. I think in my last interviews also I have maintained that it is not a zero-sum game. With some countries you will have trade surplus, with some countries you will have trade deficit. Even India is a net trade deficit country. So, and we have trade surpluses with many countries, trade deficits with many countries. Coming back to our bilateral trade statistics, today, unfortunately, both our countries are agriculturally strong. What are your export commodities to the rest of the world? Tea, coffee, horticulture products, avocados, macadamia, and so on. Many of these things, for example, we are a 1.4 billion population. We are a tea-drinking country. We eat, sleep, and drink tea from morning to evening. Still, we are one of the biggest exporters of tea. So you can't expect that we will take tea from Kenya in a big way, despite its good quality. Still, tea is going to India. Kenyan tea is going to India. Coffee is going to India. Avocados is going to India. But I think as Kenya develops, which we are seeing now, a lot of manufacturing capability is coming into Kenya. You have a huge, huge Indian market of 1.4 billion people. Now today, the entire world is flocking to India for what? because it's a huge market of 1.4 billion people. And that is where I think today we should not look at only in terms of trade deficit, but what India offers to Kenya in future. But at the same time, we are working with the Ministry of Trade of Kenya to see how we can see more opportunities for Kenyan products in India. The two commerce ministries are working on that matter. But at the same time, I would, at this point of time, see that more Indian investments come to Kenya, so that bring in investment, bring in employment, and also look at export markets. So for if Indian investment comes here, manufactures, and goes into the region, the East African region, for example, is a 300 million region. So ultimately, it benefits Kenya because it's being exported from Kenya. So I think we have to work around ways as to see how Indian capital, Indian investment, Indian trade could benefit Kenya, rather than just seeing in terms of trade.
And when you scan the Kenyan environment, I mean, do you see an avenue where Kenyan exporters can deepen their exports to the Indian market so that you can try to balance the equation?
No, that's what I am saying, that as your manufacturing capability increases, as you manufacture more and more products, you have a big market in India. So today, avocado 3 years back was not going to India, but now it is going, despite there is some duty. So I think there is a case for Kenyan products. For example, you export macadamia. We don't have macadamia. And today, Indian society is becoming very health conscious. So even if you export macadamia at some duty, I am sure that the 400 million large middle class in India would be happy to consume macadamia. Look at mango. We both are mango-loving countries, but our seasons are complementary. Your mangoes come in December to February. Our mangoes start from March to August. So we have to look at these seasonal varieties. So there are a lot of things that are in works. I can't say at this forum, but there are things which we are trying to do with each other that we can be able to look at better arrangements in trade.
I know the issue of standards and phytosanitary measures, have always been a stumbling block to a lot of Kenyan exports going to India, especially vegetables and fruit. And I know the agreements that have been signed between Kenya Bureau of Standards and the Indian Bureau of Standards, if that's what you call it. Where are we in terms of ensuring that we ease the demands and the regulations that are required there?
No, I'm not sure that there are very strict barriers to trade in terms of sanitary and phytosanitary measures, but both the countries are working through the mechanisms. We have the agreement between both the standards organization. There are talks going on. So I think there are issues on both sides, and I think these are technical discussions which take place. But by and large, most of your export commodities are going to India. The thing is that how do we increase the volumes? How do we diversify? I think it is rather than quantify, how do we diversify the export basket of Kenya to India?
And also talk to us about, I know recently there has been a conversation around creating a free trade agreement with India, which is going to unlock a lot of investment from both countries. Have we made any progress on that?
These are under discussions, but we haven't formally started any negotiation. But our Principal Secretary for Trade, which we call Commerce Secretary, was here in April, and they met the Principal Secretary of Trade on your side. This meeting happened after a gap of 9 years, and therefore they had a lot of ground to cover. They discussed what could be the arrangements, how do we can look at various trade, how can we look at exports, how can we look at investments, and they had a good conversation and they are working around it.
India has fashioned itself as the global medical capital, of the world. And, you have gained a lot of expertise. And when you look at Kenya, it's also trying to position itself as the health hub in Africa. What lessons do you see Kenya drawing from India in its boost, in its agenda to become a regional medical hub?
India is called the pharmacy of the world. Why is it called? Is it called because the affordable and quality treatment that it provides? Now, Kenya is also, as you rightly said, Kenya is increasingly becoming a hub for medical treatment in the region. And therefore, it is very important that quality treatment at affordable costs. That's the mantra which India has done. And therefore, you see A lot of Kenyans, last year over 10,000 Kenyans visited India for medical treatment. A lot of Africans are going to India. A lot of people from other countries are going to India for medical treatment. But that story will change over time when you see that Kenya develops its own capability of quality medical care at affordable costs. I think affordability is key in that. So you see that today over 60%, 55 to 60% of the pharmaceutical products in Kenya are coming from India. And that's again because of quality and affordability. These are the two twin parameters which I would say is influencing the decision. But we are also seeing the interest from Indian pharmaceutical companies to invest in Kenya, to look at local manufacturing, and we are encouraging that. So I think things will change. We are not only cooperating in terms of pharmaceuticals and hospital treatments, but on others, how do we learn from each other? The traditional system of medicine called Ayurveda, how Kenya is keen to look at Indian experience on that. So there are other things which we are working on in the health sector.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at Kenya's, cancer policy, it talks about establishing cancer centers of excellence in this country, at Kenyatta National Hospital, at Moi Eldoret Hospital, at Kenyatta Teaching and Referral Hospital. And India itself, it's a superpower in this area. What do we need to do right so that we get it right?
I think a lot of it is already in works. For example, one of the cancer hospitals being established in Kenya with the expertise from the Indian doctors and other medical professionals. The government of India also provided Bhabatron, the cancer therapy machine, 3-4 years back to Kenyatta Hospital. There are ongoing exchanges between the doctors. A lot of doctors from Kenya go to see how Indian doctors are performing cancer therapies and surgeries. So it's an ongoing conversation. I'm sure that over time, this capacity of Kenya to treat cancer patients would increase surely.
Mm-hmm. And also when you talk about technology, India is also, positioning itself as a leader in new and emerging technology. And we are so strong when it comes to telemedicines. What lessons do you think as a country we can draw when it comes to deepening telemedicine and new innovations in the medical field?
Telemedicine now combined with artificial intelligence could be a real booster in terms of reaching far-flung areas, remote areas. I think in India, a lot of it is being employed. I'm sure that Kenyans would be observing that. Recently, we also had the Artificial Intelligence Summit in February in New Delhi, where Kenya was one of the largest delegation in that. So we have also signed a trilateral letter of intent on artificial intelligence. I think that telemedicine would offer a lot of comfort, particularly in rural areas, for outreach of doctors and medicines.
Mm-hmm. And also when it comes to digitization and digitalization of government services, India is also a leader in that front. And we know Kenya has also been trying and working on modalities and strategies on how to put as many government services online as possible. Are we doing it the right way?
I think so. I've seen that e-citizen services, there are a lot of services on that platform, and we ourselves are seeing that in our, even if you go for a tourism to a national park, a lot of the services are digitized. You have to pay digitally. So I would say you're really on the right track. In fact, the M-Pesa has been the pioneer in the UPI space. Today, we are also working together, both the countries, on this digitalization space. During the Artificial Intelligence Summit, we also signed agreement on DigiLocker. So we will soon be commissioning a pilot project for Kenya for DigiLocker. Kenyans, a big delegation from Kenya visited India to understand the digital identity system of India, which is one of the largest in the world. So I think this is a very important area of work which is ongoing right now.
Mm-hmm. In 2023, President William Ruto paid an official visit to India, and the two leaders also met last month.
Yes.
In France during the G7 meeting. And the conversation has always been around how to deepen trade as well as bilateral relations between the two countries. And your Prime Minister Modi has really spoken so well about the country. And when I look at the number of Indian tourists coming to Kenya, you're looking at less than 140,000 tourists every year. What do we need to do to push this number, riding on the historical ties between the two nations?
There is always scope, but I must tell you that this number of 140,000 which you are mentioning has grown in the last few years. It was not so. I think 10 years back we were very, very less number of Indian tourists were coming to India. But today if you go to India and ask any prospective tourist, Masai Mara is on the bucket list. So I think there is a lot of attraction for Kenya in the tourism space. Indian tourists are now venturing out more from traditional areas of tourism to non-traditional areas. I would suggest that Kenya should do more aggressive marketing in India, because Indian tourism sector is growing by leaps and bounds. As prosperity levels in India is increasing, there is a lot of outbound tourism. So this 140,000 can easily double over the next 5 years, because Indians are going out like anything for tourism. I mean, they are huge spenders. When Indians go out for tourism, they do not return empty hands. They come with big shopping bags. So I think that is one area. Second is how you can bring some Indian events here. For example, the Filmfare Awards or something. That again will attract a lot of tourism from India. You bring some sporting event from India. That again will bring a lot of tourism to Kenya.
Like cricket.
I think nothing like that. If you can do that, the Indian Premier League, if you can IPL, I think that will be nothing. So I think tourism is increasing to Kenya, but there is a lot of potential.
Well, I mean, if you're just joining us, we are talking to Indian High Commissioner to Kenya, His Excellency Adarsh Swaika, and we are focusing on Kenya's trade as well as bilateral ties with India. We are taking a break. We are coming back with part 2 of this conversation. Welcome back. We're in the company of His Excellency Adarsh Swaika, the High Commissioner for India to Kenya, and we're looking at bilaterals as well as trade relations between the two nations. Thank you very much indeed for the time that you have spent with us here. I also want to find out, I know India has also been very supportive of Kenya in its fight against Ebola virus, and I know that there has been consignment of support from India to Kenya. Tell us something about that.
Yesterday, we handed over a big consignment of Ebola-related medical items that will help in prevention, surveillance, and preparedness of Kenya towards the fight against Ebola. So we had this consignment of 4.5 tons consisting of PPEs, Ebola-specific PPEs, infrared thermometers, transport safety kits, protective gears and all, which I handed over to Cabinet Secretary for Health, His Excellency Adan Duale. This all came when His Excellency the President had called some of us at State House and said that how we can come together to fight this pandemic of intercontinental concern, which the Africa CDC has declared. And I'm happy to say that we are the first bilateral partner to come up with this support, and we hope that it will help in Kenya in its fight against Ebola. We have the second consignment, which will come of bigger equipments soon, so we are looking forward to that. But I think that's a history of our partnership, and that's what friends are for, that in times of need or in times of difficulty, when we stand with each other in terms of solidarity. And I would take you back to the COVID times when we supplied almost 1.15 million made in India COVID vaccines to Kenya, when we had a 1.4 billion population back home to be vaccinated. So I think these are situations which demonstrate the true worth of friendship. And that's what it's about in Kenya.
I also want you to tell us something about the level of investment that your government has done in the revival of one of the country's largest cotton millers in the name of Rivertex, as well as the expansion of Kenya's transmission power lines?
That is part of the line of credit which was offered by the government of India. So we did a transmission line back in 2010 to 14, which connected a number of counties. Rivertex is one of the recent examples. In 2019, we extended a line of credit of almost $30 million. And I recently visited Rivertex, and I can tell you that it's a very, very upgraded, technologically upgraded facility, and I'm sure the new management will now take it further. We also have another line of credit which is currently operational, which is the $15 million line of credit for small and medium sector enterprises. And a lot of almost 16 projects have been completed under this line of credit. It's a small projects, mostly in the dairy sector, in the textile sector, but which are really making a difference to these small and medium enterprises.
Also, let's talk about agriculture, and we know that through the Green Revolution, India has managed to become self-sufficient in terms of food, and you have a population of about 1.4 billion people, the largest in the world. When you look at Kenya, I mean, we've been struggling to put 1 million acres under irrigation, for the longest time. How can India and Kenya work together to help Kenya achieve this dream?
This is something which we are focusing on, how our agricultural scientists can come together, because we are also a tropical country. We have also deserts, we have semi-arid and arid lands. So I think the topography and the vegetation of Kenya is not unfamiliar to India. So we can share our experiences, our agricultural scientific institutes can collaborate. But at the same time, I am seeing a very good interest from Indian investors, particularly to do agricultural farming in Kenya. So I've recently got 2-3 proposals where they are looking at large-scale farming. And I think that, again, in the earlier talk we were mentioning about how do we address trade deficit. So if Indian investors come and do agricultural farming in Kenya and export back to India, that again would address the trade deficit issue. So I think that is a very pertinent area of collaboration, the agriculture side.
Before I also let you go, I mean, you've been around for 10 months. I just want to hear from you. What is your agenda by the time you leave the duty station? And also, when you look at sport, I mean, and we talked about these, the Indian cricket, or what we call the Indian Premier League, is big, it's huge, and it has a massive following in India. Would you want to see one of the Premier League matches between some of India's 2 biggest clubs, taking place here as a way of boosting tourism?
Very much. I know the collateral effect will be on tourism, but leave aside tourism, I would like to see the IPL matches being played in Kenya. And Kenya actually was one of the very good cricketing nations. Back in 2003, they reached the semi-final of the World Cup. And many of the Kenyan players in the Kenyan team were Indian Kenyans. So I think that sporting ties are very, very important. Actually, yesterday, both our sports minister met in Glasgow on the sidelines of the Commonwealth meeting, and I'm sure they would have discussed some important areas of cooperation on the sports side.
Very good. What else do we need to know from India?
Yeah, pardon?
What else do we need to know from India?
No, I think it's not only that you need to know from India, we also need to learn from Kenya. Today, one example which I always feel is 90% of your energy basket is clean energy.
Yeah.
So I think while in quantifiable terms, it is only 3,000 or 3,500 megawatt, but the percentage terms, it's very good. So there are things which both countries will learn from each other. It's not a one-way conversation. That's what we feel that countries in the global south have to learn from each other. And that's why our development cooperation model is successful, because it is tailored as per the needs and priorities of your government.
Very good. Thank you very much, Balozi, for your time.
Thank you.